Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach, and I am here to talk about a couple of pretty big trades that took place today, June 1st, 2026, in the NFL. One was kind of expected, and the other one seemingly came out of nowhere. So, first trade I'm going to talk about is the one that was not very expected, kind of came out of nowhere, as the Cleveland Browns have traded defensive end Myles Garrett to the LA Rams. In exchange for Myles Garrett, the Browns got from the Rams defensive end Jared Verse. They got a 2027 first round pick, a 2028 second round pick, and a 2029 third round pick. This one was kind of unexpected, as it is a franchise top player in Myles Garrett for the Browns being shipped off, and two, it's kind of on. There was some rumblings and some rumors as maybe there were some teams interested in Myles Garrett, and then it seemed very quickly from the time it was all rumors and speculation to boom, he's being traded, and here's what's being given up for him. Now for Myles Garrett, he goes from Cleveland Browns, who are a perennial rebuilding team, to the Rams, who were just in the NFC Championship game and really pushing to make it back to and win a Super Bowl. Very much have a win now mentality, and they have added the reigning defensive player of the year, Myles Garrett, somebody that just set the single season record for sacks in Myles Garrett, and he is joining what has already been a pretty good defensive line. Obviously, they're not going to have Jared Verse anymore, as he is part of the Myles Garrett deal, but still on that same D-line with him, he's got Byron Young, talented edge rusher on the other side of him, Colby Turner, young, talented interior lineman, and Braden Fisk, another young, talented interior lineman that, all of these guys are very good. I believe it's a much better situation for Myles Garrett, just in the concept of, yes, he's still the best player on that defensive line, but he cannot be an offense's only focal point. He can't be double teamed every single play like he would be in Cleveland, because there's other players to worry about. Every other defensive lineman, Young, Turner, and Fisk, can get after the quarterback, can get pressure, can get in the backfield. So you add Myles Garrett on top of that, and this is going to be, I think, a very, very good defense, as the Rams identified a weakness of their team last year, and they still had a very good defensive line. They were still, I believe, top 10 in sacks last year, and now they've added to that. Myles Garrett joins kind of a revamped little bit defense for them in LA, as the Rams this offseason, early in the offseason, traded for Trent McDuffie, to really help shore up their defensive secondary, and now adding Myles Garrett to help very much shore up their defensive line. Now for Jared Verse for Cleveland, he goes to a pretty good defense with some pretty good young pieces, as he joins second-year defensive lineman Mason Graham, who had a pretty good rookie season, and then linebacker Carson Schlesinger, who is the reigning defensive rookie of the year. So the Browns get themselves a good young piece in Jared Verse, who's going into his third year in the NFL. They get to pair him with a couple more good defensive pieces. They get some draft capital to very much help in their rebuild. So I think this is a good trade for both sides. In the short term, this is very much good for the LA Rams, as they have a very high potential of winning the Super Bowl this year. So that 2027 first round pick could wind up being essentially a second round pick, with it being most likely the 32nd overall pick in the first round. And for the Browns, long term, this really helps them build for the future, and hopefully they can do something good with those picks, and can build a winning team. Now, moving on to the second trade of the day, which happened a couple hours later. The trade that was more so expected was the Philadelphia Eagles trading wide receiver A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots. For A.J. Brown, the Eagles got a 2028 first round pick and a 2027 fifth round pick. This is a trade that was really, speculated and talked about really since, around draft time. I really thought it could, had a high probability of being possible, especially after the first round of draft when the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Mekhi Lemons, drafted a wide receiver with their first round draft pick. They brought in Dontavian Wicks in free agency. They've been adding wide receivers to this team. So, now the Eagles get some draft capital, and the New England Patriots get a true number one wide receiver, which they have been lacking for a very long time. So A.J. Brown gets to join a, I think, pretty talented wide receiver core. As the Patriots brought in Romeo Doubs in free agency. They have, if he stays there, Kayshon Boutte, but he could be traded. They've also got Mac Hollins, who's a very good veteran presence, and then some very talented young guys in Demario Douglas and second-year wide receiver Kyle Williams, who, maybe he can step out as the number 3 option in this receiving game in his second season. This is a very good thing for Drake May. He is somebody that was number 2 in MVP voting last year, with one of the better quarterbacks. Now you give him, even more weapons in A.J. Brown, and even better weapon in A.J. Brown. The best receiver he's ever played with in his very short career in New England. I think this is a great move for the Patriots. For the Eagles, I think it was time for them for the Eagles and A.J. Brown to part ways. He did not really enjoy his time at the end last year with the Eagles. He didn't like their offense, didn't like how things were going, and now he gets a fresh start in New England for a team that he grew up a fan of, and reunited back again with head coach Mike Vrabel, who's somebody he played for when he was in Tennessee. I think this is, a very good trade for the Patriots. As a Patriots fan, I'm ecstatic for this. I, saw the notification come through when it happened, and I just said, let's, effing go. Just so excited for this, to see, what this offense can look like with A.J. Brown. As the Patriots, another team that, were in the Super Bowl last year, identified the weaknesses on their team, especially their main weaknesses, their offense. For years, it's been their offensive line and their lack of receiving talent. Well, they've been slowly building their offensive line, and they've now addressed their lack of receiving talent with A.J. Brown, and less so with Romeo Doubs earlier in the offseason. I think this is a terrific move, and I'm excited to see how this season goes. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on these trades. Kind of crazy, day in terms of movement in the NFL. She went from like nothing really since the draft to boom, Myles Garrett's traded. Boom, A.J. Brown is traded finally. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on these trades. Maybe think that there was a winner and loser of each trade. Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Till next time.